my thesis is really that the world that we live in, this material world that we live in, is really a reflection of the spiritual world, of our spiritual condition. And that in order to affect those conditions that we've inherited and that we continue to pursue requires some spiritual change. And I'm not talking about religion at this point. I'm talking about some, I think, rather simple spiritual principles in terms of how we see each other and how we conduct our lives and how we see the environment around us. I remember my granny Mel, she was from Curve Lake, Melba-Weecom. She used to talk to us about this great change that's coming. And it's very much like the teaching that about this eighth fire, this new time that we're sort of gradually working our way into. And what she talked about was that change that's going to come, and how that change can come about in an easy way or in a more difficult way. Part of that change that she talked about was this, how we would look at each other, the unity of humankind, but also how we would live with the rest of creation. And in terms of talking about creation, my grandmother never talked about it as a thing. She talked about it as something that's a living entity. She talked about, we talked about it sort of in sociological terms, that the natural world has agency, that it has an ability to move, to think, to associate with us, and likewise we have that ability in terms of our relationship with nature. Now there's a number of things that are going on in the world right now that also give me hope in terms of our relationship with Mother Earth, our relationship with the environment. And some of them are kind of small things that you see happening amongst individuals and families that some of my fellow panelists will talk about and we've already heard about. And some are really big things that multinational corporations are doing in terms of insisting on buying green, and some are things that governments do. I look to the government of Bolivia as an example, where they passed a law sort of called the Mother Earth Law. There's a much longer name to it. It's formally called the Law of Mother Earth and Integral Development for Living Well. But what it talks about is that the earth has rights, and that this law really talks about how do you manifest those rights of the earth in terms of how we think about development. And so, and I think that, and some people say, well, that's only Bolivia, it's this little country that really doesn't have a whole lot of impact on world affairs. But I think of it in terms of this positive energy that's been released by this recognition that the earth has rights, and we need to work in a fashion that respects those rights. And it doesn't mean that no development is going to happen. It really talks about how development will happen. It doesn't set up this whole sense that it's competition versus cooperation. It talks about what are some of the qualities that we need to think about in terms of sustainability, and how those qualities impact on how we think about both notions of cooperation and competition.